watch us glow we rise, with chaos and shenanigans bright, sharpening sarcasm of rise. Together we light up the night.
Welcome, everyone. It is October the 7th, and we are here, and I am going to try to give you some news and just get you guys ready for tomorrow and the coming week. I don't know how many of you guys are in Florida, but just giving you kind of updates and warnings and what we do know. Thank you, Wolfram, for doing your Modly Mod stuff. Good evening, Tammy and Nanny Goat. And my Mini 67, yeah, you better go to sleep. You can watch on the record. Flash fan, I am doing okay today. I hope you are doing great too. We do have some sad news to start off the evening. Whitney Houston's mother, Cissy Houston, has passed away at 91 after a long battle with Alzheimer's. The mother of Whitney Houston, Cissy Houston, has passed away at 91. Cissy's daughter-in-law, Pat Houston, told Associated Press that the two-time Grammy winner passed away in her New Jersey home on Monday while in hospice care for Alzheimer's. Quote, "Our hearts are filled with pain and sadness. We lost the matriarch of our family," Pat said in a statement. She added that her mother-in-law's contributions to music and culture were unparalleled. And I will say this, just from the depths of my heart, I hope that she has been reunited with her daughter. I cannot imagine the hell and pain of having to bury a child before I pass. And I can imagine that it was a pain that lingered. Grief, your life kind of grows around grief. So it looks like it gets smaller, but really your life just expands around it. So I hope that she has found peace and comfort with her daughter. Mother Cissy has been a strong and towering figure in our lives, a woman of deep faith and conviction who cared greatly about family, ministry, and community. Her more than 7-decade career in music and entertainment will remain at the forefront of our hearts, Pat said. Oh, and a grandchild, you're right. I almost forgot that. But I really hope that she has been reunited with all the family members that she's lost. Cissy was the youngest of 8 children. We are touched by your generous support and outpouring of love during our profound time of grief, the statement continued. We respectfully request our privacy during this difficult time. Pat also took to Instagram to share a sweet tribute with pictures of Cissy throughout the years. She captioned her post, "It saddens my heart to announce the passing of my beloved Queen Cissy Houston today. Please keep the Houston family in your prayers." The hitmaker's death comes 12 years after Whitney died at the age of 48 from an accidental drowning in a bathtub at a Beverly Hills hotel in Los Angeles. In the early 60s, Cissy was in a popular vocal group, the Sweet Inspirations, alongside Doris Troy and her niece, Dee Dee Warwick. I mean, what an elegant and beautiful looking woman, and just it is going to be absolutely a hard loss for a lot of people. The group sang backup for some of the era's best soul singers, including Dionne Warwick, Otis Redding, Lou Rawls, and the Drifters. In 1967, the Sweet Inspirations sang background vocals for the Jimi Hendrix Experience on a song, Burning the Midnight Lamp, and Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl, sorry. Cissy also worked on Aretha Franklin's classic Ain't No Way. Her last performance with the Sweet Inspirations was when they took the stage for Elvis Presley in 1969 Las Vegas show. She recorded her final tune with the ladies shortly after what became one of the biggest R&B hits, "Gotta Find a Brand New Lover." The tune appeared on the group's 5th album, Sweet, Sweet Soul. After 4 albums with each other, Cissy left Sweet Inspirations to pursue a solo career. In 1971, Sissy's vocals were featured on Burke Bacharach's eponymous solo album, which includes Mexican Divorce, All Kinds of People, and One Less Spelled Answer. She went on to win Best Traditional Soul Gospel Album Grammys for her albums Face to Face in 1997 and He Leadeth Me in 1999. Sissy also wrote 3 books: He Leadeth Me, How Sweet the Sound, My Life with God and Gospel, and Remembering Whitney, My Story of Life, Loss, and the Night the Music Stopped. So I hope that she has found peace and has been reunited with both her daughter and granddaughter. Now we're going into y'all. Y'all know I saw Redneck Air Force and had to click on this. Special Ops vet form a quote redneck Air Force to ferry aid to North Carolina mountains after the feds come up short. Who's FEMA? This is the stuff that really warms my heart. Yes, it is discouraging as all get out to see that the government is dropping the ball and, kind of sad and depressing stories of people who are getting the shaft instead of help like they should be. But to see people who have absolutely, you know, gone out of their way to help other people, take initiative and try to help their fellow citizen, it's absolutely really heartwarming. Hundreds of special operations personnel in North Carolina have formed their own homegrown rescue and supply operation in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene after they grew tired of waiting for local or federal government to get its act together. The Post found an all volunteer operation being run out of a Harley Davidson dealership with ruthless efficiency and military precision. Whose FEMA ex Green Beret Adam Smith derisively responded when asked about the agency's presence on the ground since the deadly storm ravaged a rural western part of the state. This disaster has definitely proven without a shadow of a doubt FEMA's incompetence and incapability, he said, noting that the agency didn't show up until Thursday, almost a week after the storm that has killed at least 232 people confirmed. I will tell you guys, based on everything I am looking, and I am a consummate news junkie, I would not be shocked. This is absolutely not confirmed by anyone, but we have been told that these numbers are in no way just even a tenth of what was going on. So I think the numbers are sadly going to keep growing and keep growing. Unwilling to stand idly by after feeling his community was languishing with inadequate support from the government, Smith enlisted the help of a few good men and women to take matters into their own hands. This Davidson dealership has become a forward operating base, complete with a fleet of 35 helicopters that have flown hundreds of rescues, reconnaissance, and resupply sorties. Organizers calling the effort, quote, Savage Freedom Relief Operation, but Smith says they've proudly adopted the alternative moniker of the Redneck Air Force. The dealership teams with current and former soldiers decked out in camo pants, army boots, with force multipliers strapped to their chests and hips, crop duster pilots, helicopter tour guides, and special operations pilots, most of them off duty or retired from the military, have answered the call from Smith and others in North Carolina's extensive military community. They're using their own aircraft to fly doctors, medicine, generators, fuel, and food to isolated residents cut off from the world by the unprecedented floods that washed out mountain roads and wiped entire towns off the map. Uh, Supplies and fuel for the operation of this magnitude don't come cheap, but the group has relied entirely on donations, including about 190,000 raised through a GoFundMe page. Welcome, everyone. Let's see. The whir of helicopter blades provides a continuous soundtrack to the action on the ground as private aircraft touch down and take flight on a large lawn beside the dealership. Inside the garage, under a window covered in topographical maps of Western North Carolina, it's the nerve center of the entire operation, where a former U.S. Air Force combat controller and local firefighter direct relief flights based on intelligence collected by or at an adjacent table with a team of men and women who are scraping social media and manning a tip line. That sounds like a pretty good idea. I made some steak fajitas, so I ate the steak. Darn this low carbohydrate thing. Two military trucks were parked outside the garage loaded with reservists from North Carolina National Guard awaiting direction from the volunteers. The well-oiled machine began when Smith, 41, was unable to reach his daughter or her mother in hurricane-hit Broad River, located between the devastated communities of Black Mountain and Bat Cave. Smith, who was in Austin at the time, drove 18 hours through the night to get back to his family, only to find that there was no road access to his home or theirs. So he did what any concerned father would do, who also happens to know a lot of people with helicopters, arranged his family to be airlifted out by a private pilot. Since then, the flights have been nearly constant during the daylight hours. Now the effort has taken on a life of its own. Smith and others are leading the operations, have gone from cursing FEMA for its absence to hoping it never comes back. Smith said he feared their carefully calibrated rescue missions will be bogged down with government red tape if the feds show up. Nobody out here wants federal agencies to come in. FEMA has walked into operation centers like this and has attempted to just take over and tell them what they're doing is illegal and they're not allowed to keep going. I've seen it firsthand in this area, Smith told the Post. My biggest fear is that they'll move into the area and in the process, they'll reinvent the wheel and rebuild the entire process. Isn't that the truth? I mean, just look at all these people helping other people. Again, if you start to get black pilled, if you start to get upset, and I know there's a lot of depressing things out there right now, but these gentlemen are going in and saving people. And there's a lot of black pill and dark pill stuff, but seeing fellow Americans help other Americans has been really heartwarming. Smith said he's never even directly told agencies to stay away, or he's even directly told agencies to stay away. I've respectively told FEMA individuals on a couple different occasions, don't come to our location. We don't want your help. In just a few days, the Redneck Air Force has evolved from surveying road damage to going door to door on horseback to military scale operations that stand today. With the group's rescue operations now complete, they've turned their attention to flying supplies to communities cut off from communication and electricity. They've amassed around 100 brand new Generac GP200i portable inverter generators, all neatly lined up and ready to deploy, each with its own full 5-gallon gas can. With temperatures set to drop into the low 40s in the coming days, Harley choppers, the two-wheel kind, have been buried under piles of warm jackets set to be distributed. To assist with the sick and injured, they have a nurse on hand who measures and dispenses medication, with 3 paramedics, 2 nurse practitioners, and even a licensed physician rounding out their medical team. They've also partnered with a local pharmacy, which has been filling prescriptions for those still isolated in more remote areas, which volunteers can then fly out to the intended recipients. Kevin Hill, 42, from Moore County, just north of Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg, is a former Air Force combat controller who retired a little over a year ago. He decided to throw his lot in with the group when he heard about the operations from some of his ex-military buddies. He did what he did best in the military, he said. This is my comfort zone. He said of the effort, this is the hub, the brain, where we try to make sense of chaos. Hill then detailed the dizzying complex intelligence operation, which, much like the airborne operations, runs like a Swiss movement. We've got a group over here in cyber scraping anything they can get from social media, scouring for information. They put that intel into a shared document we have access to, updating the priorities for air or ground ops and matching that with assets, supplies, and personnel. This guy, he said, pointing to a plainclothed firefighter, also vets the information we get because he's a local fire department guy. He's been indispensable in making sure we're doing the right stuff at the right time. In addition to the nearly 3 dozen helicopters enlisted in the effort, Hills said that Aero Lux Aviation out of Tennessee has been incredible, flying missions for the group nonstop. They've even had some National Guard CH-47 Chinook helicopters dropping in to help airlift some of the larger generators, the volunteers directing the massive choppers to go where their cargo was needed. So far, the feds seem to have heeded Smith's call to leave them be, with one notable exception, a visit from President Biden, uh, whose presence shut down the airspace in that area and stopped the volunteer effort in its tracks. You know that President Trump hasn't been here. President Trump's team called and asked us if we wanted him to come in. We said we'd love him to have him come in, but we don't want the temporary flight restriction in the area. So they said, okay, we'll wait. You know who didn't do that? The current administration. Now, I will say that I am not particularly political on this channel. These are his general things, but I can tell you, as just a regular citizen who thinks that Democrats suck and Republicans blow and the entire government is out to screw you, that this has been more screw you that I have ever seen as an American citizen in my life. So that's kind of where I come politically. I try not to make this channel political, but these are this guy's own lived experiences, so I'm going to let that stand for him. Smith said Biden's visit and the later one by Vice President Kamala Harris prompted a 30-mile temporary flight restriction, which grounded the group's choppers, forcing the group to devise a workaround, the details of which Smith kept close to the vest. Smith was adamant, telling the government to butt out isn't about a power struggle. I don't care who runs it. Three things have to happen: support, stability, operations have to be efficient, and they have to be effective. We have to re-inject capital into the local population. So, yeah, absolutely. I am so insanely proud of everyone who is donating. Thoughts and prayers, I think, count in my book. So even people that can't afford, times are tight. Uh, it's absolutely just amazing that other people are helping each other to this extent. Now, we are going to get into the current hurricane that is getting ready to come into Florida. I do hope that everyone is preparing as much as they can if you are in the path of this storm, just because, I mean, even meteorologists are getting very spooked. A meteorologist gets emotional discussing Hurricane Milton's intensity. Just horrific. A Florida meteorologist with decades of experience under his belt became emotional on Monday during his on-air discussion of Hurricane Milton, a monstrous storm expected to make landfall in his state this week. Quote, "It's just incredible, incredible hurricane," John Morales, a meteorologist for Miami's local NBC affiliate, NBC6 South Florida, warned viewers on Monday. He started to provide details about Milton before getting choked up. "It's dropped 50 millibars in 10 hours, Morales said haltingly, describing the storm's massive drop in air pressure. I apologize, this is just horrific." So as far as I know, for every drop of pressure, the storm system is greater in intensity. Now, I am not a meteorologist. I barely passed math with letters in it, okay? So if this man is getting terrified, then absolutely, exercise your very best judgment. Please be safe. Please be careful. I have family members down in Florida in the path of the storm, and they're trying to work out plans. So absolutely, everyone, this is not a joke. This is not, if you're old enough to remember Hurricane Ivan, when people had or was it Andrew? Hurricane Andrew, they had Andrew parties because they thought it was going to be really cool and really fun and not as intense as it was. So you had a bunch of people renting out hotels on the ocean front. It is going to be very scary. And I really hope that everyone is taking, all the precautions they can. As of Monday afternoon, Milton had explosively intensified to a Category 5 hurricane with sustained winds of up to 175 miles per hour, according to the National Hurricane Center. The storm was expected to lash Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula late Monday into Tuesday before continuing to make its way to Florida, where it's predicted to make landfall late Wednesday. The storm is expected to be downgraded to a hurricane or a Category 3 by then, which is still powerful enough to cause life threatening conditions and create catastrophic damage. Even though we're expecting it to weaken on approach, is so incredibly strong right now that you're going to find it very difficult for it to be nothing less than a major hurricane when it makes landfall in Florida, Morales said in a clip. Florida is still recovering from Hurricane Helene, which hit 2 weeks ago and left at least 227 people dead across several states. Morales said there's an obvious answer to what's causing the increased intensity uh, of the storms wreaking havoc across the South. It's gaining strength in the Gulf of Mexico, where you can imagine the seas are so incredibly hot, Morales said, adding, "You know what's driving that? I don't need to tell you." Right. Uh, and I have seen that evacuations are going quite crazy. I mean, again, I hope you are, doing the best you can to protect yourself and others. And, you know, if you believe in it, I'm not going to tell you what to believe. I am the world's worst Christian, so take no advice from me. But, I do believe that there is a lot of power in praying and, thoughts and prayers to everyone. No problem. Have a good dinner. What I, and, you know, that's what I would say to you guys. I definitely worry about this. I definitely hope that everyone's safe. And I think that Florida is not that this is usual for, the intensity, but Florida maybe has more experience both preparing for and then, cleaning up after a storm. Welcome. Welcome. Now, to that end, there was an article that I thought might have some interesting information. So, why a go bag can mean the difference between life or death during a disaster. Now, I will tell you guys that I have a whole box full of like go supplies in case we would have to leave the house. But I self admittedly went down the weird, crazy prepper, uh, you know, line of thinking during the coof. So I will say that it's been great on times when we've lost power that I already have emergency candles stocked up. So this makes sense. When a hurricane bears down, floodwaters rise, wildfires rage, and that big earthquake finally strikes, it's critical that you and your family members are ready to evacuate. Perhaps the most important thing you can bring with you, a go bag full of emergency supplies. Go bags exist to save you from having to run around and gather items when a threatening situation is imminent. These bags are designed to provide everything a family of four needs to survive for several days after a disaster, especially if tried and trusted services are not available. The bags don't have to be bags at all. They can be boxes, cartons, or crates. I have mine in a tote. There are 8 of us in this family. No, I did not stock up on toilet paper, but like uh emergency blankets, ponchos, a propane, hot plate in case we needed it. We lose power. We lose internet connection even on, normal days, like where it's just sunny outside. So these are things that I have had packed just in case because things happen around here. I mean, we live right around Tornado Alley. So I always want to make sure that my kiddos or that, if it's possible and it is possible that we could prepare, then we don't need to, maybe take supplies from other families who didn't get a chance to prepare because we have them. Or that's what I told myself when I thought I was going to start brewing my own booze. To be fair, I still think that you need a good supply of homemade wine, but I'm a little confused on how you know, keep it stored for longer than, however long you need to brew it, because cranberry wine is awesome. The contents of a family's go bag could mean the difference between life or not, depending on how bad the situation becomes, according to Jonathan Surrey, senior staff associate at the National Center for Disaster Preparedness. Having yourself and your family be prepared will ease the burden on your response system, but also make you more mentally ready for what lies ahead. Preparation is the difference between panicking and being calm, collected, and cool. Disaster preparedness certainly is an important topic. A 2015 NCDP survey indicated that only 35% of respondents had an adequate disaster plan and supplies. Whether your house is currently threatened or not, now is a great time to put a plan together. Most of the items disaster preparedness experts suggest you include in a go bag are things you can find around your house. You can also purchase items separately or as part of package kits designed to offer one stop shopping. I will say that there are companies that will, pack a bag for you. I don't have those. We have a tote, like I said. What you're wanting to think about, your basic emergency supply kit should have 1 gallon of water per person per day. Now, I will tell you that a gallon of water weighs 8 pounds. So, in my opinion, and I am but a novice prepper and a deeply unserious person, but I've just bought life straws for people, and that's how we were doing that, or decontamination water kit. That's kind of what I've done. But everyone's different. If you have ways of, holding a gallon of water per person per day, then absolutely do that. I just know that it's incredibly heavy. A 3-day supply of non perishable food per person per pet, your family's prescription medications, a battery powered or hand crank radio, flashlights, a first aid kit, a wrench to turn off utilities. Some of the items on extended lists can include emergency blankets, extra cash, solar cell phone chargers. Okay, you guys, I I know this sounds ridiculous, but the solar cell phone charger is probably one of your better investments. And I am a novice at this. Like, I don't even have my own, grocery store in my basement. So, what I can tell you is of all the things that if you're going to splurge on something, that's what I would splurge on, just so you might have, you know, you have a way to continually charge your phone to try to get help. That's my recommendation. Um, a multi-purpose tool such as a Leatherman or a Swiss Army knife. People should also include digital copies of all their important documents, such as birth certificates, insurance policies, passports, uh, as well as ample supplies of over the counter and prescription medicines for every person in the family. Another key component would be a good set of paper maps. It's critical to have printed maps of the area with 2 exit routes clearly marked. As I am directionally challenged, I do not have this. I am going to be screwed if the old Kmart moves, because I'm going to have no idea where I'm supposed to be going, because that's how I do all my directions. Okay, you're going to stop and you're going to turn right towards the old Kroger. I mean, it used to be Kroger, but now it's some janky flea market. Okay, you're going to turn there and you're going to go by, the weird chicken shop. This is how I do directions. This is why I'm not in charge of directions. And just make plans. Please be safe. You guys you don't have to go super crazy. You don't have to go nutso. You don't have to live in fear. But it is nice, and it does help my anxiety to know that I have these things packed. That if we need them, even though my husband looks at me like I'm crazy, we have these things ready to go just in case. Or Flux will tell you go crazy. I'm glad it's not just me. I still think I am the reincarnated leader of the Donner Party. with the same directional inability to do anything. But there you go. In the Walmart rapture, this is how we get final form Jesus, y'all. This is how we get final form Jesus. What is going on here? Let's see. A pastor charged with first degree murder of a man tracked down at a restaurant and shot over an affair with wife just got a chance to get out of jail on a $30,000 bond. Well, um, you know, I never knew how bad the canceling of Cheers was on Cliff. Holy God, dude. A Baptist pastor turned accused killer who has been behind bars in Christian County, Missouri for more than 2 years without heading to trial was just issued a $30,000 bond, giving him a golden opportunity to get out of jail in a first degree murder case. Hey, if it's pop culture related and I think someone looks like someone else, I am there. The Ozark Police Department has said that Matthew Lynn Dedman, a 49-year-old from Springfield, on the afternoon of May 28th, 2022, shot 57-year-old Joe Newbohm. Okay, so this would be Matthew Dedman, and this is Joe Newburn. Multiple times in the chest while on the 100 block of West Church Street after he allegedly spotted his wife with the victim at the restaurant in the Ozark Courthouse Square Historic District, and violently lash out over an affair leading to Newburn's death the next day at Cox South Hospital. After Newburn's death, Dedman was charged with first-degree murder and armed criminal action and kept in jail without bond for more than 2 years as the case was bogged down by discovery battle and a lingering fight over, quote, motion to endorse, end quote, witnesses to testify at trial. Of note, Judge Laura Johnson in September 2022 refused to grant Dedman bond by writing that while there are several factors in favor of issuing a bond, family ties, his financial resources, the length of the defendant's residence in the community, and the defendant's lack of criminal history, there was also a risk that the defendant wouldn't appear in court based on the seriousness of the alleged murder and also putting the broader public in grave danger. Quote, the evidence is the defendant possessed a loaded force multiplier on the square in Ozark outside a busy restaurant. That force multiplier was discharged 3 to 4 times, resulting in the victim's death. This put everyone on the square in grave danger. There was evidence that this conduct was out of character for the defendant, which causes concern about the defendant's decision-making and judgment, the judge wrote at the time. The seriousness of the charge increases the risk that the defendant will not appear. For these reasons, the court will detain the defendant without bond. That remained the status quo until October 1st, when a judge reversed herself and went from no bond to $30,000 bond, the court docket reviewed by Law and Crime shows. Though the judge sided with the state's amended motion to endorse witnesses, she also agreed to release Dedman from jail on the condition that he must wear a GPS and will remain on house arrest until further ordered by the court. The defendant may leave his home only for court appearances and emergency medical attention. A defense filing before the ruling reveals that Dedman, a pastor at Heritage Baptist Church, pointed to the Missouri Constitution and sought a bond on the grounds that he is not charged with a capital offense by accusing the prosecution of, quote, inexcusable act of late endorsements from the state on trial witnesses. This case has been pending for well over 2 years. Counsel for the defendant has worked diligently during that time to ready this cause for trial. As the counsel for defendant believed that depositions were concluded, as she had deposed all endorsed witnesses, and the matter was finally ready to set for trial, the state filed its motion to endorse, redacted, the filing said. The defendant adamantly opposes this motion to endorse. However, the defendant submits that should the court grant the state's motion to endorse in whole or in part, the defendant should be granted release on bond due to the state's inexcusable act of late endorsements, which, if allowed, will cause an inevitable lengthy delay of the defendant's trial. I do not see any pictures of the wife. As of Monday afternoon, Christian County jail records did not show that Dedman was released from custody. Law and Crime reached out to the office of Christian County Prosecuting Attorney Kristen Toy to inquire on the state's position on the bond and whether she had a response to the defendant's complaint about inexcusable act of late endorsements. Toy declined to comment, noting that the case was a pending matter. Law and Crime also sought comment from Stacy Calhoun Bayou, Dedman's defense attorney of record. An obituary for Joe Newborn said the father of five and car enthusiast, quote, has always been the guy next door that everyone wanted to know, I guess including this dude's wife. I have no idea, but yeah, don't sleep with other people's wives, but also don't, force multiply people for sleeping with your wife. Feel like these are fairly easy things to not do, but okay. Well, looks like people are trying to pay off victims to avoid being named in, P. Diddy's latest shenanigans and all sorts of other sundry and weird things. Diddy's A-list pals quietly pay off victims to avoid being publicly named, says a lawyer. Some big-name celebrities are quietly paying off victims to avoid being publicly named in lawsuits related to the Diddy SA case, according to a lawyer. Attorney Tony Busby, who is representing more than 120 of Sean Diddy Combs' alleged victims, told TMZ that huge stars are about to be sued by his firm, and he's giving them a chance to settle up before these claims hit public court. Some celebrities have opted to settle, he said. Quote, in every single case, especially cases like this, because it's in the best interest of the victim, we attempt to resolve these matters without filing a public lawsuit, and we've done that already with handfuls of individuals, many of which you've heard before, Busby said, according to a report by the Daily Mail. Bad Boy Records founder was arrested in criminal trafficking this month. He pled not guilty. Busby will be separately lodging a new slew of lawsuits, including on behalf of 25 minors beginning this month. He sent out the first demand letters notifying others who will be sued in addition to Combs. In fact, Busby said he'll be aggressively going after anyone who saw the alleged abuse occurring and failed to act to protect victims. If you were in the room, participated, watched it happen, and didn't say anything or helped it cover it up, in my view, you have a problem, the plaintiff lawyer said. A lot of people saw this activity going on. A lot of people allowed it to go on, said nothing, didn't intervene. All these individuals and entities have exposure. But the unveiling of notable names won't start coming out this week, Busby said. Everyone is focused on what other celebrities were involved and who's going to be named, who's going to be outed. I don't expect that to happen this week, he said. We want to make sure if we name individuals beyond Mr. Combs, we've done our homework because it's going to create a firestorm, and we understand that. Combs, 54, has been behind bars since his September 16th arrest on allegations he forced women to participate in drug-fueled freak-off like orgies with male prostitutes that sometimes lasted days. Yeah, no. Listen, if you were there and you saw kids being abused, you said nothing. I'm afraid Lord Chippy or Snake Island, allegedly in Minecraft, would be where I sent you if I were president. Feds claim Combs carried out the abuse for more than a decade, often using violence or threats of violence to get his alleged victims to comply with his twisted wishes. In the wake of his arrest, victims have begun coming forward with legal claims and stories of alleged abuse. Combs and his legal team have claimed the quote-unquote freak-offs were among consenting adults, and they have denied he ever abused anyone, including minors. Now, I will say there is general scuttlebutt. There has been no story written about this, that a lot of stars are in full-on cover your bum mode, including but not limited to Ashton Kutcher and his wife, what's her face, especially after defending the other guy from that 70s show. I'm sorry, y'all, names escape me. I think its name was Danny Masterson. But yeah, this is going to get ugly for a lot of people, especially if you saw kids. And Pink, let me say something directly to you. I know you don't care for me because of my politics, even though I have awesome pink hair now too. But if you're a mom, if you claim the overarching awesomeness of motherhood, but you saw kids there and you let kids get abused in your face, Sailor Mo is going to have some things to say that probably will have to be on a Rumble channel, because how dare you ever say anything about being a mother if you saw young children getting abused and you said nothing? Nuh-uh. I don't want to have to excommunicate you from the female club, but I have the scepter and I will do it, damn it. I hate it because I swear to goodness, Pink was like the soundtrack of me getting out of my funk when my husband passed away, and I loved it. I loved all the music. It made me, upset and angry, but gave me an outlet to kind of express feelings that I have a hard time, expressing because feelings are weird and confusing, at least to me, which is kind of sucky. Daggone it, it stinks. But it is what it is. What are you going to do? People are allowed to have their own opinions. Uh, but it is just absolutely gross if these people knew that these bad things were happening and didn't do anything. A South Korean woman has sued her government and adoption agency after her kidnapped daughter was sent abroad. So I know during a lot of times of upheaval, there will be a lot of family separation. So this is absolutely devastating. A 70-year-old South Korean woman sued her government, an adoption agency, and orphanage Monday over the adoption of her daughter, who was sent to the United States in 1976, months after she was kidnapped at age 4. The damage suit filed by Han Tae-soon, whose story was part of an Associated Press investigation published last month, could ignite further debate on the dubious child gathering practices and widespread falsification of paperwork that tarnished South Korea's adoption program, which annually sent thousands of kids to the West during the 1970s and 80s. It was the first known case of Korean birth parents suing for damages against the government and an adoption agency over the wrongful adoption of their child, said Kim So-jung, one of the lawyers representing Han. Han searched for her daughter, Lori Bender, for more than 40 years before they reunited through DNA testing in 2019. Speaking to reporters in front of Seoul Central District Court, Han argued that the South Korean government was responsible for failing to prevent the adoption of Bender. Han had reported to the police that her daughter was missing and desperately searched for her, frequently visiting police stations, government offices, and adoption agencies, and even going on Korean media. She had her daughter's picture displayed everywhere, in subway stations, on lampposts, on bags of snacks that advertised missing children, and the Korean version of American milk cartons. Han accuses Holt Children's Services, South Korea's biggest adoption agency, of facilitating Bender's adoption without checking her background. Her lawyers said that Jacon Children's Home made no effort to find the parents after Bender was placed in the facility by police in May 1975, a day after Han reported her as missing. In her adoption papers, Bender named Shin Jiang Ha at birth. I am very sorry. I will absolutely, I have butchered that name, is described as an abandoned orphan with no known parents. Under a new Korean name made by the orphanage, Baek Kyo Ha was sent to the United States in February of 1976. Quote, for 44 years, I wandered and searched for my child, but the joy of meeting her was only momentary, and now I'm in so much pain because we can't communicate in the same language, Han said, fighting back. This is so sad. I mean, the absolute miracle to find your child and then not be able to converse with them, to not even say the most basic things, is just heartbreaking. It turns out they didn't make an effort to find her clearly existing parents and instead disguised her as an orphan for adoption abroad. I want the government and Holt to explain to us how this happened. Kim, the lawyer, said the government is at fault for botching child search that led to Bender's adoption, saying she could have easily been found if missing child information was properly shared between police stations or if officers had tried to search orphanages. Quote, while the state bears the large responsibility for not fulfilling its duty to help find missing children and reunite them with their families, we also believe that the orphanage, as well as the adoption agency, cannot be spared from responsibility as well. We suspect these children protection institutes failed to carry out their ethical obligation to help find the child's parent, even when the child was saying she had family members or parents. Jeon Min-kyung, another lawyer representing Han, said she was seeking about 600 million won, or $445,000 in damages. The lawsuit lists Han, her husband, and two of her younger children as plaintiffs, but not Bender. South Korea's Justice Ministry, which represents the government in lawsuits, said in a statement to the AP that it wouldn't comment on an active legal case. Holt did not immediately respond to a request for comment. In an earlier interview with the AP, Bender said she was approached by a strange woman while playing near her home in the city of Cheongju. She remembers the woman saying her family didn't want her anymore because Han had another baby. Distraught, Bender went with the woman who, after taking her on a train ride, deserted her in Cheongyang, a city 50 miles away. After failing to find her daughter for 4 decades, Han registered her DNA with a nonprofit group called 325 Karma, which helps Korean adoptees reunite with their families through genetic information. In the United States, Bender took a DNA test because her own daughter was curious about their heritage, and 325 Karma connected them in 2019. Just weeks after finding her mother, Bender and her daughter flew to Korea to meet Han. Recognizing Bender immediately, Han ran to her screaming, moaning, and running her fingers through Bender's hair. Quote, it's like a hole in your heart has been healed. You finally feel complete as a person, Bender said. It's like you've been living a fake life and everything you know is not true. The AP investigation, which was also documented by Frontline PBS, described how the South Korean government, Western nations, and adoption agencies worked in tandem to place around 200,000 Korean children in the United States and other Western nations, despite years of evidence that children were being procured through dubious and dishonest means. Western nations ignored these problems and sometimes pressured South Korea to keep the kids coming as they focused on satisfying their huge domestic demands for babies. What in the absolute rapture is this crap? In 2019, Adam Krasper became the first Korean adoptee to sue the South Korean government and an adoption agency for damages, accusing them of mishandling his adoption to the United States, where he faced legal troubles after surviving an abusive childhood before being deported in 2016. After 4 years of hearings, the Seoul Central District Court last year ordered Krasper's adoption agency, Holt, to pay him 100 million won, or $74,000 in damages, for failing to inform his adopters that they needed to take separate steps to obtain his citizenship after his adoption was approved by the state. However, the court dismissed Crasper's accusation against the Korean government over alleged monitoring and due diligence failures. The case is now with Seoul High Court after both Crasper and Holt appealed. This sounds like something that is going to be an absolutely devastating mix of ridiculousness and abuse. It's just, this is terrible. I believe if you're a little bit behind and you're asking about the P. Diddy thing, I think that is what they are kind of asking these monsters to pay the victims so the victims don't have to have that public exposure. But some people might actually want to fight this case. In our final story, and because only the Kardashians, uh, Kourtney Kardashian is catching parenting police wrath for tacky Halloween decorations. And when you think tacky, oh no, this is much tackier than you can imagine. Now, would I put this on my front lawn with having children? No, no, I wouldn't. If I were a single cat lady, though, hells yes, I would have this statue. But as a mom, I don't want to have to explain what those skeletons are doing. Kourtney Kardashian was at the mercy of online people with sanity, not trolls, over the weekend after revealing her Halloween display at home. The eldest Kardashian slash Jenner shared a carousel of images welcoming the new month of October with questionable lawn display prominently featured outside her South Carolina abode. Two massive inflatable skeletons were blown up and perched on the grass underneath a tree, with one skeleton sitting on top of the other skeleton in a suggestive manner, leaving little to the imagination of her followers. These inflatables are cringe, one Instagram user wrote, while another commented, "Your kids can see those skeletons." Quote, "As a mother of four, I find it disgusting that you would do those inflatables." Now, to be fair, am I ever going to go up to someone and try to put them in mom jail? For the love of all that is Cheetos, no. I don't care enough about Miss Kardashian to give a rat's rah-rah what she is doing in her lawn. I do think that her HOA is going to have a big problem with this, but I guess if you live in Hollywood, I mean, look, it's suggestive, it's maybe not in the best taste, but I don't think we need to go full Helen Lovejoy. Won't somebody think of the children? Uh, One commenter simply stated that the skeletons are a little tacky. The skeletons, seriously, any respect for your kids? Another user mused. One follower pointed out the positions of the skeletons are unnecessary. This has nothing to do with Halloween. The skeletons, seriously, any respect for your children? The skeletons are too sexual. Halloween is supposed to be full of fun, not full of sexual innuendos. Sir, have you ever played? Well, the topmost the skeleton that is astride the other skeleton looks like it has hair, sort of. I don't know. I've never watched a single Kardashians, so I can only say that I have been, left out of this particular thing. It looks like it sort of has hair on the top skull. Um, okay, I don't know. Another Instagram user stated the obvious and appeared to come to Kardashian's defense. Have you seen pictures of her and Travis? They're always like that. Yeah, can we speak about what an unholy crime this is? Like, don't lick each other in public. Why should I have to be the one that says that? For the love of all that is holy, don't do this stuff in public. Your mother would be so Never mind. Look at what this chick is wearing out in public. To be fair, and to be very honest, if Mo ever gets to her goal weight, I would be tempted to wear nothing but a body stocking out. But it's also called gravity. So I will probably never wear a full body stocking out in public. Darn it. Uh, Kardashian 45 also showed off an incredible display of pumpkins lining a staircase outside her home before sharing snaps of her husband, Travis Barker, pushing their son Rocky outside the Franklin Theater. In another snap, uh, posh the posh founder is lovingly looking down at her baby boy while she appears to be backstage at a Blink 182 show. Barker has been touring the world with his band on the One More Time tour. Barker and Kardashian have never shied away from public displays of affection or affliction if I have to see it. Uh, since revealing their relationship in 2021, the couple welcomed baby Rocky in November and more than 1 year after officially tying the knot during a fairy tale wedding in Italy. She has 3 children with her former partner, Scott Disick? I don't know. While Barker also has 3 kids with his ex wife, Shanna Molkler. Again, y'all, I have never watched a Kardashian, so I don't know what they look like in their natural habitat. I can only imagine that they just dress like this all the time. I have no idea. I've never wasted my time. Now, I will say that, I am not trying to put myself on a moral high horse. Y'all, I just spent like the entire weekend watching this incredibly lovely, very sweet sounding woman explain to me all of the things that she does because she's an Orthodox, a Sardic Jewish woman living in Canada. So I have learned how to make my kitchen kosher. Now, between that and the algorithm pushing the hoof trimmer guy, I really don't know what my algorithm is trying to teach me. But I can only say that 2024 is going to be continue to be crazy. I hope that everyone is doing their best and, be safe, be kind to each other, and maybe say through thoughts and prayers. I know people throw that out and say it's ridiculous, but I feel like it does help me. And I know it's a selfish reason to pray, but it helps me not feel helpless. Right now, I am in no way directionally or even capability able to help people other than donating at my locality and hoping that it will get sent down to the affected areas and not confiscated. Praying to me or talking to my creator or whatever you call it, the universe, the spaghetti monster, for me, I know that it lifts other people's spirits and it also helps me not feel so helpless because a lot of times, a lot of situations in the news, we can't do all that much, by ourselves. But those are my advice things, be prepared, be safe, and I will see you guys in the morning. Housekeeping stuff. So, what we will probably do tomorrow, since I am a semi news channel, is during our Sarah Boone uh, motions in Lemonade, the state strike back sort of thing. I will also be looking at the hurricane as it's updates. So I think that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. I do have a thumbnail up. Let me just tell you, Sarah looks perfect as Randall. I had that 100% correct in my own opinion. I will see you guys. Have a great night. Goodbye.